You're listening to the Cruise Tips TV Unplugged podcast. Mr. Cruise Tips TV got pulled aside by cruise security at the embarkation port, and we're going to tell you the story today. Welcome to Cruise Tips TV Unplugged. I'm your host, Sherry, and we invite you to join our cruise-loving family as we travel the world creating cruise videos and vlogs. In this podcast, we talk tips, tactics, and strategies to help you make every cruise your dream cruise.
That sounds bad.
It does sound bad. Will you ever look at a drug-sniffing dog the same way again?
Oh, I still think they're cute.
I do too.
That is definitely not the right approach to drug-sniffing dogs, but every time I see him, I want to pet him.
You're like, oh, but
Yeah, exactly.
You don't do that, but your instinct is to pet them.
No, so go ahead and give more to the story here.
Yes.
Like a better lead up. I mean,
Let's give a better lead up.
We're obviously getting onto a cruise. We're happy as clams because we've made it through what seems like the hard part, right? Getting through security. At least we thought we were through security.
Right. Well, we thought we were hot stuff. This was boarding our Carnival Miracle cruise down in Galveston.
You didn't think we were
hot stuff?
I didn't think I was hot stuff.
Well, here's why I'm telling you we're thinking we're hot stuff. Because guess what we actually did on embarkation day for once? We made it to the port nice and early.
There's always something. This is the funny thing.
Yeah.
And I was actually thinking about this as we were walking through. I was thinking, wow, that's impressive because our goal is always to get in there early, 20 minutes early, something like that. Mm-hmm. And some silly thing always comes up.
Yeah, like we get trapped in the elevator at the hotel.
Or traffic.
Right.
Or somebody, pulls you aside to talk to you about something or, something happens.
You can't get to the port for one reason or another. So this time we're totally early. We're like on our game. We got up. We'd stayed at the Marriott. What was it called? The Residence Inn in Galveston. Beautiful new hotel, by the way, which will be discussed in our next couple of podcasts will be about Carnival Miracle experience in Galveston. The ports, the excursions, there's so much to talk about. That's going to be a two-parter. But this story has to be told because this was how the cruise started. So here we are. We're on our way. Our check-in time at the port is like 10:30 or 11 a.m. It's some glorious early time to get on Carnival Miracle.
Early.
We're early. We get there. They're like, oh, no problem. Come on in. There's no line. We're flying through the process.
We flew through the process. In fact,
we were done. We had gone all the way through security, we were about at the ramp. We were almost to the ramp.
We were at the ramp when a friendly puppy comes up to say hello. And I really didn't think anything of it. I actually thought in my head, he likes me.
Sure.
And then I went, oh, no.
Oh, no. He got a little extra sniff, didn't you?
Yeah. And then the security guards kind of rushed towards you.
And they said, sir, step aside.
Yeah.
You're going to need to go over into this room. And so we're at the point, you guys, where you're heading up that final ramp and you've got your security check done. You've put your stuff through the security, the conveyor belt, right? They even inspected our suitcases because we had brought soda this time and they want to look at your soda, make sure that you're not smuggling booze in your soda container. So we really thought that we were heading up to the area where they simply call you on as soon as boarding starts. So Mr. Cruise Tips TV, he's got a couple of the bags. I've got a bag. Junior's got a bag. We had divided some of the bags because we were taking soda. So we actually only had one rolling suitcase. Yeah. And because you're the big, strong guy, you were carrying the rolling suitcase.
I had three things.
You had your backpack, which has your tech gear in it.
I had a rolling suitcase and an extra personal type bag.
You had a personal item, which was mine on top of it.
So in my mind, I had everything. So I didn't know you guys had anything left.
Very little. Like I think I had a very small backpack and Junior had a very small backpack. The only thing that was in our bags was our laptops. Okay. So basically
suspense.
What happens is they say to you, come with us. And they separated us. They separated the family. They basically told Junior and I, they're like, no, you go ahead and proceed.
Yeah, they won't let you
come with.
Accompany.
We were not allowed to go with him. And the weird thing about that, the thing that was kind of uncomfortable was those were basically bags that I had packed.
Yeah, they weren't my bags.
They weren't your bags. So if there were questions, you were going to be caught holding the bag.
Literally. And there were a few questions there.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so let's talk about it. So Junior and I'm at this point, I had that yucky feeling like when I had to drop you off at the hospital to have your appendix taken out where I had to leave you. I had that horrible sinking feeling.
He's doomed.
He's doomed. And I didn't like it, but I knew you'd be okay. I knew there was nothing illegal in the bags, but I had this bad feeling that it was our medications because we have some prescriptions in our life as we are now, over the age of 50. There's some, pill containers, unfortunately, that we travel with. And I was like, oh man, the dogs probably smelled that stuff and it's going to have to get, just looked at. So I'm thinking you're not going to know what it is, how to explain it, maybe.
No, I had no clue.
No clue what was even in the bags, really.
No, in fact, in my thought process was, oh, this has got to be something that Sherry put in there, like cookies.
Yeah, something that smelled nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I had no clue.
You had no clue. Nonetheless, so you get taken into the room, right? What happened at that point? What happened when you were selected? What happened in that private room? What did they search? Did they search your bags? Did they pat you down? Tell me all about it.
Well, let's back up because I don't want to scare people, but they are very stern. They're not rude. They're not pushy, but they're very stern.
Kind of TSA style stern.
Maybe even a little bit nicer than that. Okay. But there is no question about where you're going or what's expected of you. They basically separate you from your bags.
Oh.
So they're, at least at this port, at this terminal. So they made me put my bags in the middle of the room and then told me to sit in a specific location. And they did that with everyone.
Like, what if you had like a purse or something? Could you hold your purse?
Everything goes.
You couldn't hold anything on your lap?
No.
Not even, like your phone maybe was in your pocket.
No
that
phones.
Was it.
They
took your phone.
They don't take your phones. They don't let you pull your phone out.
They tell you that.
They're very clear about that. There were a few people, I had no idea, but there were a few people who pulled their phones out and they said, please, ma'am, put that away.
Okay.
So they did not allow any phones, probably for, video or photography reasons or something like that.
Okay. And there were other people in the room, it sounds like it.
There were a lot of other people.
Okay. So this was not just you. Which was kind of comforting.
Yeah, comforting because it wasn't just me.
Okay. Got it. So then they separated you from your bags.
All of them.
So you're sitting on the periphery of the room. The bags are in the middle of the room. And then you had to wait for presumably a little while they went through, the order of people.
Yeah.
And then what did they do?
There were probably 4 agents in there searching other people's bags.
Okay.
And then they call you up and basically make you put everything up on the counter, and they proceed to go through everything. And I mean, everything. Like
open the bag, go through every pocket.
Exactly. And there were a few things. It's hard not to be nervous.
Right.
But I was nervous,
Sure, of course.
And then you start thinking, well, I look nervous. So he's thinking I'm guilty for something. And of course, the first thing out of his mouth is, what's in this bag?
Oh no, which one? Which bag?
It was an interior bag.
Okay.
So inside your carry-on, there was an interior bag.
Right, okay.
And we're all human. We say and do dumb things.
Oh yeah.
He says,
here it comes.
He says, I'm going to preface this one more time. I was a little nervous.
I still can't believe you said this. This is really funny.
He said, what's in this bag? And I said, I don't know. My mom packed it. I actually said that.
I can't believe you're actually telling people this right now.
Well, I mean, because like I said, we're all human. We do dumb things. And then I immediately corrected myself and said, my wife packed it. And he gave me the eyebrow. Like, oh boy.
It's your wife's bag though.
Yeah. And so I had to explain to him. She packed it and all my stuff is already on. So I have no clue what's in this bag.
Right.
So he went through everything. Like I said, pill case, even the pill case, he popped open every single one of the flaps and he poked at the pills.
That is so creepy.
With a gloved finger, so there's nothing to worry about. But he pushed him around, poked him. He asked what they were. And some things I said, I don't know. I have no idea. And some things I said, well, I know what it is. It's, some kind of pain reliever, like Tylenol or whatever.
Sure.
But don't think that you're going to get through this and have them skip over things, because they don't. Every pocket is unturned and every bag is searched, and they're very, very thorough.
But they let you go. So you got through it. Oh, they also patted you down, right?
They did.
There's more to this.
They did pat me down, and it was expected, and it was no big deal.
Okay.
There was nothing to, no concerns there.
Right. So they didn't say anything to you about why you were pulled aside. At this point, you still don't know. We still, to this day, don't know what was in that bag.
No, we don't. And I didn't ask. And my agent was not particularly conversational.
Okay.
He was not rude, but he was very businesslike.
Yeah.
Things like, what's in this bag? And do you know what this is? But he, I might have said a few things to him here and there, but for the most part, I just stayed quiet and let him do his job. And I think that's probably a good approach.
Yeah. So then ultimately, and I'm thinking you were in there for about 20 minutes. My guess is you were in there for about 20 minutes because I remember thinking, oh man, we're so early today. We're actually going to board the ship at 10:30 a.m. This might be the earliest we've ever gotten onto a cruise ship, except for maybe Royal Caribbean. But I felt like the wait was, by the time that you were done, everybody was boarding the ship. It was like, oh boy, we lost our lead. Everyone's kind of flowing down the gangway at this point. So would you say it was about 20 minutes?
I would just be guessing, but it was enough to where they had already called you guys to board.
Yeah.
So I don't know, 20 minutes is probably good. But you know what? Other people's mileage on that may vary because if I hadn't been sitting there for as long as I was, it probably would have gone faster. But the search itself, I think it was probably a good 10 minutes because like I said, he went through everything.
Everything. Now there's an article on our website, friends. If you guys want to see the picture of the pill case that got opened, just search cruise security on CruiseTipsTV.com and you kind of scroll down about halfway through the article. You can see the pill case that I had. I'm not sure I'm going to recommend these to be carried in your carry-on bag. It might be something that you want to put in your checked luggage or take your original prescription bottles. But basically we had a combination of over-the-counter medications like vitamin D, ibuprofen, Advil PM, and motion sickness medication. And in the same container, we did have a blood pressure prescription medication. And that's basically it. There wasn't a whole lot of other prescription stuff in there. So you might want to consider taking everything in those original bottles, just kind of keeping those prescriptions close by. If it's a controlled substance, definitely make sure that you have a letter from your doctor. If it's a prescription controlled substance or a narcotic or something like that that's legal but controlled, make sure that you have paperwork. But I'm just kind of jumping in there about that. So when you were in the room, did you see anybody else appear to get busted for anything? Did it seem like anybody had, let's just be honest here, did they have pot? Did they have marijuana? Did they have drugs? Did you see anybody who looked like they were concerned or getting in trouble?
Well, it's hard to say. And I didn't see anyone get, handcuffed and taken away or anything. But I would say most of the people in there looked a lot like me. A little bit clueless, had, no idea why they were, but, respectful and quiet. There was one person that if you were, selecting people who might be suspicious looking, kind of fit the bill. Okay. And that person was giving them a bit of a hard time and they were kind of giving it back to this person. Okay. I don't think it ended very well for that person, but I don't know. I have no idea.
You didn't see it through.
It didn't look like it was going well.
Okay, got it. So I think this is probably a good time to, because this is where you got released and you got sent back onto the ship. Nothing was taken out of the bag. We still don't know what it was that flagged it, but this might be a good time to talk about things that could potentially cause these issues, you guys, from the research that we've done. The most obvious one is going to be drugs like marijuana. We have come to realize in the last few weeks that Carnival specifically seems to be, anecdotally, from what I'm reading on cruise message boards, they seem to be really, really cracking down.
So this is an example of something that is a good reason to pull you aside because it's not allowed. But there are also things that the dogs might hit on inadvertently, and they basically just want to double check.
Yes. And what we're told is it's not like the dog tells the tells the handler with lowers one ear for, oh, there's salami in the bag, and, raises the other ear if it's a controlled substance. They're just saying like, hey, check. They give him the dog gives the handler an affirmative, like, check this bag. But they don't know what it is. They don't know if it's food. But some of the things, do you know what some of the things are that can trigger it? I mean, from our research, what are things that get packed accidentally that could trigger this?
Well, I looked up a few things, and honestly, they're not supposed to hit on the food.
Right.
Unless they're you're in a port where they don't allow you to take food on board or something like that.
Right.
But what I came up with was obviously prescription medications.
Yeah.
That's like the number one. And then some essential oils and spices. Even like cleaning products sometimes can get you flagged. Mm-hmm. There was also some things that I read about particular types of leather, particular types of, new suitcases, but I don't know how much stock I put in to those. I'm thinking more like the spices and prescription medicines.
Yes.
And maybe some types of food, but like I said, I think they're pretty much trained not to hit on that.
Yeah. I've had a lot of people tell me that they got pulled aside and they were told that it was whatever food that they found in their bag. But it's not like we had like bacon, in our bag. We actually did have packaged food in our bag. We always travel with granola bars and sealed peanuts and things.
But not in that bag.
Actually I think they were in that bag. Oh, you didn't see them in there?
I don't think so, no.
Maybe they were in my backpack.
No, because actually when he was done, I thought, well, that's weird. There's nothing in here.
It was just the pills.
Like I said in the beginning, we did have some cookies, but they had gone with you.
Oh, yeah, right.
So it wasn't
You're right. I think all the food got checked.
Yeah, and I was surprised about that. So we had the prescription medicine and we had some bath salts.
Yes.
So those are the only two things that to me could have been it. Yeah, a possible
that
flag.
Bath salt bag was very fragrant too. It was very exotic smelling, like warm kind of spices that I think, who knows what that could trigger, but
we don't know.
We will never know exactly what happened. But I think that there are some takeaways from it, right? Obviously, when you're dealing with the screening, some things you don't want to do when you're in that screening room, right? Like you do not want to argue with them. Probably don't want to get defensive. Probably don't want to speak much when you're not spoken to. Obviously, don't make jokes about anything that's violence, bombs, terrorism related, just like an airport, really bad idea. Don't try to rush them. This is another thing we heard. And don't refuse to answer questions. And the last thing, that we kind of mentioned this in our article too, is don't take it personally, you guys. There was probably 8 people who were in the same boat with Mr. CruiseTipsTV. And when we announced that this had happened, so many people came forward and said, yep, me too. I want to believe, and after we've spent 11 days on Carnival Miracle, I want to believe it's because they're cracking down on stuff. And you guys, I really think it's working. They had drug sniffing dogs again on the gangway and the ports, making sure that people's bags didn't have anything illegal in them. And they would line up our bags. They'd have you put your bag on the floor and then they'd let the dog do like a walkthrough and then let you go on. And I don't know if it was just the particular cruise that we were on, but 2.5 years ago when we cruised with Carnival, one of the things that actually was starting to bother us about Carnival was the fact that there was a lot of pot smoking on the ships, just a ton. You'd walk around the halls, you'd smell pot. You'd be on your balcony, you would smell pot. It was common. There was not a single time, not a single day, not a single moment on that ship this time when I had that experience. Granted, it was an 11-night cruise, much older demographic, less likely to have that kind of thing happening. But on Carnival, we had found it was starting to become quite common a few years ago, and people were somehow getting away with it. But I can tell you, they're not getting away with it now. So I think that might have been what was happening. So yeah.
You also have to explain though, because this may sound draconian, but no matter what side of the fence you come down on this type of, recreational use, it's not allowed. It's not allowed on the cruise ship. That's the bottom line. So you may be thinking, hey, this is okay, or it's not okay. Well, it doesn't really matter.
It's not permitted.
But it's not permitted on the ship. So
right. And the reason for that is even though, pot is legal in some states. It is still not legal federally, and Carnival Cruise Line and the other major cruise lines follow the federal laws. So that is why it is not allowed. Interesting fact. So we talked about the don'ts, right? What should you do though? If what do people say that have been through this additional screening process that you should do? Number one, probably best to keep your medications in their original bottles or with a prescription nearby if you need them. They did not give us trouble for not having them in their original bottles, but going forward, I might do that. If you're taking gifts on board, make sure you don't wrap them. You can't do that. You can't take wrapped gifts during the holidays or at any time on a cruise ship, and that can be a flag.
I'm going to stop you with the prescription bottles just for a second because I don't think it would have mattered much.
Yeah, I don't either.
Because I think he would have still popped them open and looked. There's you can answer the question of whether or not you're supposed to have those particular medications if you have it in the original bottle.
Sure.
But I don't think it would have changed anything. I think the dog would still hit on it, and he's still going to open up those bottles and take a look. And
don't you think that if it would have made a difference, the guy would have said to you, hey, you need to tell your wife next time she needs to keep these in their original bottles?
Absolutely.
I would have thought he would have said that.
Yeah.
And they didn't say anything like that. Although we're hearing a lot of buzz about that in airline travel, going through airport security and stuff, that could be a problem.
If you want to play it safe. Like I said, the only instance where I think it would have mattered is whether or not they question, is this for you?
Yeah.
Or maybe even wanting to know exactly what it is.
Sure.
But I don't know.
Yeah. Another thing that could be helpful too is make sure that your bags aren't terribly overpacked, that they're neatly packed, because with everything is going to come out of those bags and have to be put back in.
It is true. In fact, this is one of the things that I left out. The guy, my agent, expressed a little bit of frustration trying to get stuff back in, and I said, I'd be more than happy to do that for you. And he says, please.
Oh, good.
And he just pushed it all.
Oh, good. He let you repack the bag. Yeah. And then obviously, just keep that medical documentation, keep digital copies of everything from your passport to prescriptions. All that stuff is really super helpful. But I feel like we came away from this. We didn't feel upset or intimidated. We actually felt like there were some bright sides to this. In my opinion, it made me feel more secure. It made me feel like the cruise lines care and that they're, in a world where we have to be somewhat concerned about our safety at all times. It's nice to know that they're still taking it really seriously. It's a fun story to tell too. I mean, you have to admit it. As disappointed as we were that we lost 30 minutes towards getting on the ship, it was actually an interesting experience. And I feel like it may help some people that we went through it.
Well, I got to say, after it was over, I was fine. It was like you were saying, a learning experience, and it was a good story to tell. Obviously, we're telling it.
Right.
But you could also learn some packing tips.
Yeah.
You could learn some packing tips. Because actually, one of the bags, when he opened it, everything just popped out. Yeah, it was like a Jack in the Box. And he looked at me like, are you kidding me?
Yeah, it was a soda bag.
I don't remember what it was.
Yeah. Oh, that's how I pack. You should have seen it at the end of the cruise.
That is how you pack.
It's me on both knees, completely trying to compress the bag and get it zipped. It's a nightmare. There's stuff pouring out the sides. And I'm supposed to be this packing mentor. Here I am at the end of the cruise, stuffing everything back in the bag and, at the last minute, night before, morning of, whatever.
A long time ago, and some people may remember this, but it may be too old for many. I think it was American Tourister.
I remember that. Sure, yeah.
They had a gorilla beating the crap out of their luggage to prove how strong it was. I'm thinking...
I'm the gorilla.
Yeah, they need to... No, you're not the gorilla, but they should just hire you.
Yes, they should. I'm very difficult on bags.
Here's what we expect to get in this bag. Go at it.
Well, we had a casualty on this trip.
We did, yeah.
Our level 8, God rest its soul. God,
well, no,
it sustained a serious injury.
It is serious.
It's a laceration.
It's about an inch and a half laceration.
An inch and a half?
Yeah.
It's like 6 inches, bruh.
Well, it may have gotten bigger, but it's actually a tear from being overpacked.
Yes, it is.
And it's
and
not,
I admit it.
It's not the cloth either. It's actually the whatever it is, plastic.
Carbonite. It's the carbonite.
Whatever it is, the indestructible material has been destructed.
Yeah, I also attribute it to the rough handling. I mean, you know, they're tossing those bags around. Yes, I overstuffed it, but then they rough handled it.
Well, it gets rough handled. It's hard to say how that happens because a lot of it is automated and has been automated for a long time where things are just, jumping off of conveyor belts.
Yeah. Right. Exactly.
But,
Yeah. But yeah, that was a sad casualty.
Purpose.
It served its purpose. So yeah, it was an interesting experience. You guys, we had a wonderful trip on Carnival Miracle. We are back on track with our podcast schedule. Happy to say it. You have some cool content coming. The feedback that I've received from you all is instead of me coming on and saying, this is a review of my cruise, right? You want more practical information, like maybe some Carnival cruise tips. Certainly a review of the cruise, but also what do we do in the ports? What excursions did we do and would we recommend them and how do you book them? So we're going to go ahead and do a 2-part series over the next 2 weeks, breaking down our Carnival Miracle Cruise. We had 5 sea days and 5 port days. Before that happens, you're probably going to end up seeing the YouTube video review anyway. So that'll be out there. That's coming really soon. That will tell you and show you everything we did in the ports. But just to give you guys an idea, if you're wondering what to do in Grand Turk, Half Moon Cay, Nassau, Amber Cove, and Montego Bay, we did something in every single one of those ports, with the exception of Nassau, but we do have something to share with you about Nassau. So look forward to kind of a port-focused podcast coming up, and I know that that's going to be a really fun one to talk about.
But if you're really interested in getting a head start on the Miracle Adventure,
yes,
that sounds kind of cool, doesn't it?
The Miracle Adventure. Yes.
We do have an article about the food.
Yeah.
Which includes menus download. I know a lot of people like to get a little advanced knowledge.
Yes.
So it's pretty thorough. We have all the main dining rooms. We have most of, I think.
Specialty, specialty.
Yeah, we probably have everything.
Yeah.
But I have to be careful because somebody might be looking for something that we don't have.
Sure. Well, the good news is Carnival Miracle is kind of a basic ship. It's a smaller, older ship. It only holds 2,100 people. So you don't have super enormous amount of specialty dining on there. You've got the Nick and Nora's Steakhouse. You have Guys and you have Blue Iguana, right?
I don't think
and then you have pizza and deli.
I don't think there is a menu for Blue Iguana. So that may be where...
There isn't really a menu for that.
It seemed like we were missing something, and I think it's because it just doesn't exist.
Yeah. I think you're right.
To my knowledge.
But we did have an incredible cruise. That ship is scheduled to go in for dry dock, friends, by the way. It is a very old ship. The ship is 21 years old. But if you like older, smaller ships, this ship really is a lot of fun, and it was a very relaxing experience for us. We, as a family, we really enjoyed having that extra time. Like the 11 nights was great. Junior had an awesome time as well. He did meet some new friends on this one. That was really cool. We were very worried that on an 11-night cruise, there wouldn't be a lot of kids, and he really had an awesome time, both in the ports and on the ship with friends. They did a good job with the kids and teens on Carnival Miracle as well. They really divide them up into a lot of different age groups. Even the teens are divided. Like there's one group is 12 to 14 and one is 15 to 17. And then they go down from there. They did a good job.
Yeah, they did. And there weren't a lot of kids, but sometimes I think that works out because you're more easily able to make those connections.
Yes.
So that did work out.
Yeah. He even got out on the dance floor a little bit out during some of the events. It was just a ton of fun. It was a wonderful family trip. And if you haven't seen our Pack With Me video, please go watch that. It's really good for Carnival cruises, but any cruise that you're doing out of Galveston, this packing video can help you because Galveston is nuanced with the weather. It can be very, very cold in the wintertime, and then you're heading directly to a warmer destination. So you might need to prep for a boarding day, chilly willy outfit, and then lots of resort wear. But in the summertime, Galveston can be face of the sun hot. So, there's a lot of variation, but if you're doing any kind of a cruise out of Galveston in the winter months and you want to see what we packed and talk about that, there's a good bit of information in there. I ended up actually wearing jeans, a raincoat, and a scarf on day one. Like, This was not your typical boarding day in Florida, folks. It was cold in Galveston. We were in the 20s. It had been raining the night before, and it was jacket weather, like literally jacket weather, really cold. But yeah, lots to look forward to with the podcast. We appreciate your patience with our little break. And we're coming back in full force. Lots of incredible content coming on the YouTube channel too. The MSC vlog from our Middle East trip is coming soon. I do promise you guys it is coming. And then the Carnival Miracle vlog will be coming either right before or right after it. So you've got two really big, like, fun, long form videos that go over the entire experience in depth. So make sure you're subscribed over there. And thanks for sharing your story with us, Mr. Cruise Tips TV. Next time, don't let your mom pack your bags.
No, I think that's the real lesson there.
Until next time, we'll see you on the high seas.
Thanks for listening to Cruise Tips TV Unplugged. If you like our show and want to know more, check us out at CruiseTipsTV.com. You can also find us on YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram by searching Cruise Tips TV. We'd love if you'd leave us a review wherever you're listening to this podcast, subscribe to the show, and tune in next week. Until next time, we'll see you on the high seas.